These are without a doubt the best AirPods I've ever tested.
All right, you're gonna make me say it. AirPods Pro 3 are worse than AirPods Pro 2. So I've had the AirPods Pro 2 for about 2 years at this point, and they've been my most used audio device that entire time. I've had Sony's flagship over-ear headphones, their in-ear buds, and even dipped my toes into the audiophile space with a DAC amp and open-back headphones. But literally nothing beats the sound quality, noise cancellation, comfort, and convenience of the AirPods Pro 2. So naturally when the Pro 3s were announced, I was super excited. An upgrade to my favorite earbuds of all time was an easy day one pre-order for me. And look, I want to be fair to the Pro 3s. When I say that they're a downgrade, I don't mean that they're just bad in every way. So before everyone starts roasting me in the comments, let me say what's actually good about these earbuds after 75 days of use. So the biggest upgrade from the Pro 2s to the Pro 3s is the noise cancellation. I've worn both of these in a lot of places, the gym, coffee shops, and everywhere in between. And look, while the Pro 2s do have good noise cancellation, I'd say the Pro 3s are like 20 to 30% better in my experience. And look, that doesn't sound like a huge improvement on paper, but it's noticeable enough for me to tell them apart right away. But here's where the problems start. If you're going to get the AirPods just for the noise cancellation, I'm gonna burst your bubble a little bit here. The Bose Quiet Comfort Ultra 2s have way better noise cancellation, and it's not really a contest. And look, I'm far from the only person who thinks that. So yeah, the Pro 3s do have better noise cancellation than the Pro 2s, but they're not even gonna be the best on the market. I mean, Apple claims 2 times the noise cancellation. I'm gonna be honest, that is just not true. But look, to be fair to the Pro 3s, they do have better noise cancellation than the Pro 2s, so fair enough. So there's also a new feature where the Pro 3s can track your heart rate during your workout. Me personally, I don't really have a use for this since I just wear my Apple Watch anyways while I'm working out. But look, I'll admit, if you don't have an Apple Watch, that actually is a really nice feature. There's no negatives or caveats of that feature, it's just not necessary if you already have an Apple Watch in my opinion. Okay, so this is where I start to have some hot takes with these earbuds. First off, the sound quality is just straight up worse, and let me explain what I mean by that. So the AirPods Pro 2 actually have a pretty neutral sound profile. See, audio nerds break down sound into 3 main buckets. There's your bass, there's your mid, and there's your treble. So bass is exactly what it sounds like. It's that kind of rumbly, thumpy foundation to your music. The mids are kind of the heart and soul of what you're listening to. That's where your voices and your instruments are gonna sit. And treble is going to be that high end that gives you that sparkle and that little bit of extra depth to whatever sound that you're listening to. So if any of those 3 buckets are out of balance with one another, then they're going to drown out the others. And overall, your music is gonna lose some clarity and detail. So on paper, an overly bassy headphone might sound like a plus, but in reality, you're gonna lose some of those subtleties in your mids and some of that sparkle in your highs. Apple got it right with the Pro 2s. They didn't make this mistake. The bass, the mids, and the trebles were all pretty in balance with one another. But Apple, I think, made a mistake by caving with the Pro 3s and making them overly bassy. And look, I'm not here to shame anybody's sound preference. Like, if that's what you like, then fair enough. But I'm going to argue that actually for the majority of people, having those 3 buckets all in balance with one another is the best listening experience that you can have. And this is what confuses me. Like, there wasn't any need to change the sound profile of the Pro 2s. Like, these sounded really good and everybody liked them. And when you just artificially boost the bass of the Pro 3s, I literally think it just makes it sound worse. Okay, so I'll admit this one is subjective, meaning you could think that the Pro 3s fit really, really well in your ear, and somebody else could think that they're horrible, and that's just because we're all different people. Look, my problem with comfort here isn't that the Pro 3s don't fit inside of my ear well. Honestly, both sets of earbuds have worked fine for me. But something happened between generations where I feel a lot more of like that head pressure whenever I have noise canceling on with the Pro 3s. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's this phenomenon that some users report when they put on noise canceling headphones or put noise canceling earbuds inside. Sometimes when the noise canceling is on, it kind of feels like your ears are plugged, like sort of when you're taking off from an airplane. And honestly, I never experienced this with the Pro 2s, but yeah, with the Pro 3s, I've definitely been noticing it every time that I put them on. So I have 2 theories as to what's going on here. So first, Apple actually changed their ear tips between generations. The Pro 2s had these silicone ear tips, whereas the Pro 3s mixed silicone and also some sort of foam inside. And look, I'll admit the Pro 3s do feel a little bit more secure in my ear, but the additional foam layer might be putting more pressure on the inside of my ear to achieve that result. And therefore maybe my head feels that kind of pressure. And my other theory. So as I mentioned before, the noise canceling is better on the Pro 3s than the Pro 2s. But maybe that extra 20 to 30% of noise cancellation is enough to actually create that pressure effect that wasn't present on the Pro 2s. Look, either way, I'm just a lot less likely to wear these over a long period of time versus the previous model. Which leads me to my next downgrade. Okay, so technically this is kind of a mixed bag. The Pro 3s themselves last 2 more hours on a charge, going up from 6 hours to 8 hours. And to be honest, from my experience, that's pretty accurate. I'm gonna be honest, I have never once worn my AirPods so long that the actual earbuds ran out of battery. Like 6 hours of active noise cancellation is enough to last an entire plane ride, except I guess if I were to travel international, but I don't really do that usually. And other than that, I'm just not gonna be the guy to have his AirPods in like all the time. So that extra like 2 hours of battery life has literally never gotten used. So look, I will admit, if you're the kind of person who finds themselves running out of that 6 hour charge all the time, then yeah, those extra 2 hours are probably gonna be pretty nice for you. Okay, but devil's advocate here, you can just like put these in the case for what, like 5 minutes and get another hour of charge? Like, is that really gonna kill you? But I'm getting off topic. Like, yes, these do last longer as just a pair of earbuds. Here's the thing though, I find myself charging the Pro 3's case a lot more frequently than the Pro 2's. And this is not my imagination. Apple actually claims that the Pro 3's case only has 24 hours of battery life compared to the Pro 2's 30 hours. And on top of that, the Pro 3's case is literally bulkier than the Pro 2's. Look, I'm gonna be honest, if I were to choose, I would way rather have a case that lasts longer versus the earbuds lasting longer. Because even if I am gonna have these things in for 8 hours in any given day, which probably wouldn't happen, it would be split up into chunks. So the limiting factor is the case's battery life and not the actual earbuds. And look, even if you disagree with me on all of that and you're the kind of person who needs their AirPods in all the time, can someone explain to me how they made the case bigger over generations and now it has less battery life? Like, look, if Apple had taken kind of an approach where they really wanted to slim down the AirPods case and then they sacrificed some battery life, like, I guess I'd understand, but this is, to me, just completely unacceptable. So look, if you're in the market to get AirPods Pro, then get the Pro 2s. They have the same H2 chip as the Pro 3s, a more comfortable experience with noise canceling on, a more neutral sound profile, better case battery life, and they're cheaper. And they also still come with all those new software features like live translation or hearing aid functionality, because they have the same H2 chip. Again, the only thing that I would personally miss about these is some better noise cancellation. But for all of those other trade-offs, I'd actually rather just use the Pro 2s. But look, if you must have the absolute latest and greatest AirPods Pro, I'm not saying that you're gonna spend your money and then hate these things, but I just really don't think that it's worth your money when the Pro 2s are legitimately a better choice for a lot of people. And look, I know this one's gonna be controversial, so feel free to argue with me down below in the comments.